Yo, what's going on? Today I'm here with two very legendary gentlemen, two gentlemen that have had a large impact, and a lot of people do not know their history and some of the things that they've contributed to the world of hip hop and breaking and other various elements of hip hop. Um, I'm here with none other than Kev-Ski and JoJo. What's up, guys?
What up? What
What's
up?
up?
What's going on, yo? So I introduced y'all, but say a little bit about yourself to the audience.
You go first, Chris.
Just a little bit about who you are.
Well, my name is Kev-Ski, and when I first started out, I started out as Rhyme Wizard Kev-Ski, because I was a rapper, you know. That's how I first started out before and everything else took place, and I was with a crew called the High Power Team MCs, and then from there, I started DJing. Then I started MCing, breakdancing, teaching, popping, and all that stuff. I had multiple things. Not to saying I was one of the best of them, but I did my part, and I taught.
And JoJo.
My name is JoJo, and I've been dancing for over 20 years. And I'm one of the co-founders of the world famous Rocksteady Crew. And I love this culture. I mean, I've always been a part of it. It's always been a part of something that I love doing, and I never stopped. I've been around through the sweat and tears throughout all these years of being a part of whatever I can be a part of as far as like Rocksteady Crew. I didn't get too many opportunities because somebody that was running it didn't like me. Anyway, everything was, turned out good when I decided to, form me another crew, and that crew took off, and I'm very happy with that. But in my heart, I am still a Rocksteady originator and one of the co-founders, and I'll take that to the grave with me.
Nice. So where did you both grow up? Like, where did you both really
West
grow up?
Bronx, right?
Yeah.
West Tremont.
Yeah,
Right off
Bronx,
Tremont.
Burnside.
He was off, well, you was
Yeah, I'm Burnside.
Felon Place, but
Felon
you was
Place.
between Burnside and Tremont, and I
Yeah.
was on Tremont and Grand, which was up the block from him.
Yeah, I used to live on
Yeah.
1834 Felon
And
Place.
I lived in 1750 Grand Avenue.
Nice. So, in New York, we have an understanding of what the Bronx is for people that come from different cultures or different countries that may not have an understanding. Paint the picture of what was the Bronx like in the era when you were growing up.
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we were poor, first of all. And even for poor kids, we know how to manipulate our gear to make it just look slightly different than having it what you wore that one day. And, my mom struggled, my mother, I love her. I love my mom's. My mom's with my father, and my mother, she did everything for me. She made me who the man I am today, and I owe everything to her, and for me to be a part of a dance like this now, years later, it's great, because when we were doing it in the streets, we were poor, and we were out there just dancing because we loved it. We loved to dance, and we loved to share, and battle, and when you win, you took that with you as a winner. You didn't win prizes, you didn't win trophies, you just took the clout with you and was like, yeah, I won that one. And people took that with you, so the next time they seen you, they would say, that guy's a dope breaker. He's took out, what's his name, last time. Let's see who's going to battle this time. So while we were being poor, we were also dancing in the streets, which kept us out of trouble, kept me out of jail. I mean, I ain't going to say I was a good kid when I was young. Of course, we did things, and I managed to avoid a lot of things. And then I got smart with it because I seen a lot of my friends going away and dying, and said to myself, I need to focus on being a man and stop being a kid and being out there like that. So I stopped, and I just continue with the art form, and that's what kept me, healthy and kept me going to this day.
Kev, paint the picture for the Bronx. Like, how was it growing up?
Well, like JoJo said, we grew up poor. I had my mother had 8 kids, so she did the best she can, because we all turned out to be decent young women and young men, but the Bronx was a way of living, a way of life, a way of getting away from the problems. There was a lot of problems in the household. That's why we used to do the things we did to get away from the situation. That's why we were so creative. We created a lot of things that we did because we was street savvy. We had a lot of ideas in our head, and it would only be brought together when we was in the street, because the street, that was our way of getting away from things, and we did a lot of things, positive things. We did a lot of charity work growing up, and we still do up to this day. We give back. See, a lot of people fail to realize it's not what you only do in the past and stuff like that. It's what you do if you continue doing. And the most important thing is teaching, And all our lives, me and JoJo, we always been teaching. Even from when we was kids until now. We still teaching kids. And we still doing our part in our community to help people. That's the way we grew up. We grew up struggling, but we grew up helping people. And we're going to continue helping people because that's what we all about.
Describe the early days of hip hop. Before it was called hip hop, when people were just coming out with the systems, people just came out to the parks and things just organically started going on. Like, what do you remember about those early days?
I remember being excited every time I heard the bass from like blocks away, walking to the jam, right, Kev?
Yeah.
We walk to the jam and we'd be like, oh, so yeah, we start giving each other high fives. Yeah, there's a jam. Oh yeah, we're gonna go. We used to be. It was something that made you so happy to go just be there. And then when you get there, there's no trouble. There's been times there's been shootouts, things always happen. There's always some idiot arguing with somebody and something happens. It happens once in a while. But the majority of the time, we never had any shootouts. It's always been good. There was women there, there were kids there, there was all kinds of people there, and the music was going on. Then you had and it was kind of crazy because when they did do it, after, like, towards the end, like, back in my days, our days, whenever their jam end, they would end it with Always and Forever. Always, forever. They were always right. For some, when you hear that, you knew the party was over. So people would start leaving. You would look at the DJ, you see him packing his records. That was just something that we all knew that it was time to go when that record came on. And any party, right? Yeah. They don't do it now. They don't do it now, right?
Well, even that, or when the shots was fired.
Well, but besides that, that's the song they used to play. And we, I was so happy. Like, for instance, like my friend Cote D, I remember that one time I was coming up from Roberto Clemente from the tower, River Park Towers, and I was walking up. I made it to University Avenue. I didn't know that DJ Whitehead was DJing in '82. So when I get there, I cross the street remember how University had the chairs, the benches, remember? Mm-hmm. That's not there no more, but they used to have benches where you could sit in between the streets. And I remember getting there and running into Cote D and Cote D saying, hey man, they jamming, come on, let's go to the jam, And he always was vocal with us as far as like the Puerto Rican B-boys. He was one of the first, he was black, but he was one of the guys that gave Spanish B-boys their rep, even when nobody was doing it. He used to say, check out the Puerto Rican B-boys in the house. And at the time I was B-boy Spider-Man and Spiderweb. See, my early days of dancing, I started at the Herc parties. Me and my brother, we used to go there and dance, and Cote D was a DJ. It was DJ Cote D and Mr. Lee. They had their equipment. They would come out in the daytime and be the day DJ and DJ till 5 o'clock. And then at 6 o'clock, Kool Herc would come out with the Herculoids, his speakers, set up and take the night jam. So during the daytime, he would be, check it out, and it would be packed. People would come out and be nice, Yeah. We would battle. Of course, we was beating everybody in that area. We became so popular that they wanted us to stay in that area every time they had a party or jam. That they wanted us to be there to battle, And we went from there to River Park Towers, Roberto Clemente. We started going all around, because that's what they wanted. And not only us, but ourselves. We knew we was good, but we also, like me, I wasn't a show-off. Everybody knows me, I'm a humble guy. I never was the type to show off or nothing. But what I didn't like was the show-off, the one that embarrassed somebody. Because the person that embarrassed somebody was the person that I would go after. Because I'd be like, that's not right. I'm going to get that kid. I'm going to embarrass him. I'm going to embarrass him like he just embarrassed that poor dude right there. And that's what I used to, that's what I did, as a B-boy,
Kevin, describe those early days of hip-hop for you.
Yeah, at the same time, like he was saying, when he was doing the battling, the dancing, at that time, like I said, I started out as a rapper. So at that time, I was either on the mic or being introduced to come to the mic. Or something.
Ready to get on the mic.
Yeah.
Before that even era, like, who was getting on the mic? Did it start off straight off, people jumping on there and saying something, or Did you have to see someone to say I could do this too? Like, oh,
No, I started out, okay, I started out with first it was my first DJ was Cote D, and Cool D used to help me and stuff. We used to help me. We used to help write rhymes together and stuff. Then I started writing my own, and then I started writing for the team. We was harmonizing rhymes and stuff. Then I had several partners and stuff. We had 4 DJs. One of my favorite, one of my closest ones was Ron Rock and Reese, the rapping technician KD, and then it was Ace, and then we had DJ Solid T, which passed away, God bless him, and and then we had other DJs too, Tony Tone, and we had so many different. But then when I used to do my solo things in the parks, a lot of times I used to go to park jams like JoJo said, and then I got started with Tila Rock. Tila Rock told me, he heard me rhyming in a party one time. And then he told people, he was like, let Little Man on the mic. He's nice. And since then, I took off. I did stuff in 82. I did something in Cedar Park. I did some Echo Park and all different places. On 184th and Riot Avenue, we used to throw jams. They used to throw jams there and all, and it was always either rappers and the b-boy scene. So we was all around doing the same thing around the same era,
So how did you guys see the evolution? Like, the way you guys are kind of speaking about it sounds very organized. Mm-hmm. But was it like that from the beginning? Did it start? How did you see the evolution? Did it start from a guy coming and bringing his system and people coming like normal dancing to now you notice there's a circle over here and there's a crew over here and people are doing something on the walls?
I think for me, the first time I seen breaking, period, was at 82, and it was from a kid named Mark who lived in my building, a black kid named Mark that lived in my building. And for instance, like the term getting down also meant breaking, like back in the day. So I remember being in 82. Now I was always a dancer. See, my history when I was young, I was sort of like the Jerk. You remember Steve, the movie The Jerk, when he was raised by a black family? See, my grandmother's, I think for some reason, I'm not really sure, but I think my grandma's grandfather, they had died, and my mother moved to Massachusetts with my father, and he had just got out of Job Corps and became a welder, got a good job, got a house. We was living great, The only thing that got me a little sad was that I was going to be a Boston fan, because I'm a Yankee fan. But other than that, I'm sorry. I feel bad that my father died. He died in a car accident, and when he died, my mother couldn't afford the house, the good life. We had to move back to the Bronx. And when we got back to the Bronx, to Manhattan, we needed a place bad to live. We couldn't find, my mother had to find. So there was a lady named Miss Vern Tucker, which was black, who was a good friend of my grandma, who grew up with my grandma, friends. She took my mother in and took us in. And her family became my family. Her daughters, her nieces, her nephews all became my cousins. I was the only Spanish kid with a bunch of black cousins back then. Not through blood, but they showed me love like they was blood. You know what I'm saying? And my dancing came from that because they used to have parties. How the blacks back in the days, they used to have parties, like Christmas parties, Thanksgiving. And those parties, they would always be dancing. And my grandma used to be saying, go JoJo, go JoJo. And we just do steps, but I wasn't breaking. So now we go back years later to when I met Mark. We was in 82 schoolyard, and I already knew him, and he was dancing. I seen him breaking, and I was like startled when I see like, whoa, what the fuck is he doing? What is he doing? Wow. And he got up, and I said, I like that. That's nice. And he said, can you get down? I said, yeah, I can get down. He said, let me see. So JoJo did the steps, and he looked at me like, that's not getting down. This is getting down. And he went down. And when I seen it, I was like, again. So what I did was I went back home that night, and I just threw myself on the floor and tried it. And I went into some steps, and I said, I got to keep trying to do steps in a circle and come back to the same point. So I just kept practicing until I got that 6th step down. And when I got it, that was it. When I got that, I was skinny. I was only 125 pounds, back then. I was fast, and I took to it fast. So the next time Mark seen me, I did footwork. And he was like, where did you learn that from? And then he said, how come you didn't do that the last time? I said, I just learned it, and that was the beginning for me, dancing.
And Kev, like when you said that besides you were DJing, you were involved as an MC, but you also started dancing too, right?
Yeah.
Popping and breaking.
I learned from JoJo, and
He didn't break too much, but he popped
Yeah.
an MC.
Yeah.
Actually, when we did events, he was more like our master of ceremony. That's
Yeah.
how he became the MC. He was the voice behind us.
Yeah,
Whatever.
'cause
Check
that's
out
the time we
JoJo.
did- yeah, that's
this
the time
one,
we did
this
the
one.
show for Jello Pudding.
We did
and,
Jello Pudding and Pujo Card.
Yeah, Pujo, and Historical Society.
Which one was that? The Windows of the World. Remember? How about the yacht?
Yeah, that was Jello
We
Pudding.
did a show on the yacht where
Yeah,
we
for
had
Jello
tuxedos
Pudding.
on.
Yeah.
We all had white tuxedos with gold trim, and they did something with the camera where we flipped from white tuxedos to all red and white Adidas suits. Remember?
Yeah,
the Adidas?
yeah.
It was dope.
And I was the
remember
master
that.
ceremony. Yeah, that's for Jello Pudding.
Yeah, that was for Jello, yeah.
Yeah.
And then we did something for Pujo Card, which was at Windows of the World at the World Trade Center.
And
so
then-
we got to see how high that was.
And it's
you know,
Historical
how high it
Society,
was,
and
you
there
know.
was several other ones that we did. We did a lot of.
We got a lot of these
events,
things
you know?
through a friend named Arthur. Let's give Arthur some props.
Yeah,
Arthur
Arthur,
was
yeah.
an older black guy who believed in us, and he took
Yeah.
us wherever that was breaking, and whatever monies we made, we all went to see karate movies at 42nd Street.
Yeah.
And we stood there for hours looking at movies. It was a waste of time for him because we was into the movie. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We turn around and look at him, and he's like this. He'd be sleeping,
Yep.
So hip hop, things are kind of forming. The DJs are forming. The music is starting to come together. The breaking is starting to get organized. In terms of now, there's little crews and posses coming out. Like during the what is called like the explosion era, those 80s. What was it like for y'all?
Oh, I tell you. Oh, when that era, we also see this the part that people don't know because we never really talk much about it. We used to used to dance in every club. Lime Life, the Devil's Nest, 1018,
Tell
the
me about
World.
Tell me about the rock dance.
We created a dance we called the rock dance. And we started that dance in the Devil's Nest. And then years later, Jay-Z and everybody start coming out and saying the rock dance, but then they totally created something out of something we created. But then we didn't care
It's
because
not the same either.
it's not the same. But the difference is we didn't care to take credit for something because we know we created something. Just like a lot of stuff that's going on now. A lot of people talk about forced history, And the thing is, they don't know who created something. Everybody, because why? Because people tell them forced history, The thing is, I'm not trying to take credit for nothing. We're not. We know what we created. We know the people who know that was there and seen it, we know they were there. Because every freestyle dancer, every freestyle singer, just about that ever went to the Devil's Nest, seen us perform. And when we hit the dance floor, we had the floor. Everybody gave us the floor. And we never paid to get in the club. We never waited online to get in the club.
Those were the good old days.
Every club in New York City, we got in for free. Why? Because we was like more the entertainment. We brought people into the clubs. And just by us dancing and showing up and doing what we did.
We went through a phase.
Yep.
We went through a phase because at that time, in the early days, b-boys were kind of bummy. They were dressed bummy. Pro kids were all, messed up, and we took our dance, that rock dance, and we went from being bummy to being classy.
Yeah, we was dressed
And we
all
used
dressed
that rock
up
dance
dancing.
where we had on blazers and ties with the pins. Remember
Rolling
the pins?
all over the floor
The
and
pins we used to
everything.
rock in the 80s. We used to
Yeah.
have the pins.
The brooches,
with the,
yep.
with the thin tie, with the blazer. That's the era we brought in with the rock dance. And the rock dance was a hand gesture. It was something
yeah.
it was something you did.
It was like a get jiggy type of thing.
Yes, it was more like a thing with the girls.
And it was one day that we was hanging out, and JoJo had came out and said, "Yo, because the way we did the dance and everything was like a little. It was like it's hard to explain. But the thing is, we was all in sync with. We didn't have to practice the dance. It just came natural. We was all in sync with each other. Even we had our different languages and stuff, and we still do. We talk, and we still have our own ways that we talk that we can communicate. And even up to today, people say, "Oh, They don't understand we talk, because why? We created it. You know, we not taking credit for something. If you want to steal something and try to do something with it, then hey, do it. But if you're not doing it up to our standards, all we going to do is sit back and laugh.
Oh, you're gonna lie and say,
You know?
So during that whole time period of the 80s, a very big movie came out. And that movie featured two prominent crews to the public, to the public's eyes. Two prominent crews, the New York City Breakers and the Rocksteady Crew. Where were you guys at that time?
I got something to say about that.
Wow.
Let me tell you. First of all, I went to Job Corps, and I was in Job Corps for a year and a half, almost 2 years. So when I came back, I was expecting to be welcomed back by my peers, you know, Rocksteady, everything. Instead, I got dissed, you know, and on top of that, when they had the big breakdance contest in the 80s for those guys to get in the movie, we were outside. We couldn't even get into Roxy's that time because he had it where the crew was the main people, the ones that he picked, you know what I'm saying, and took it to that level. We never dreamed, you know, when I seen, either though I could have said to myself, nah, you know, let me get in there, I belong there, whatever. I didn't do that because I felt that I was being like put in a position for some reason. So I just wanted to get there on my own merits. And I would go, we went to the Roxy's, we finally got in, remember? We was in there, we didn't get no props, we didn't get no special treatment, nothing from Legs, nothing. And then he took it from that point on and left. Now the battle itself, you know, it was put together by a guy named Henry Chomfei, who put it together, the Rocksteady Battle. You know, he was like our mentor. He's the one that actually, you know, gave us that platform to actually get to that, you know, because he owned an art studio in Soho. So he was exhibiting graffiti works. He was the first one to start putting graffiti pieces in this place, and people were liking it. And he seen, wait a second, this is art, you know, this is underground art. I'm gonna run with it. So he started doing showcases, and then he said, wait a minute, let's have some break dancers here now, you know. So he'll do a showcase and have us breaking right there, and people would come, like high class people would come with money,
So
you know.
similar to like the scene in Wild Style where
Exactly.
it goes to like the wealthy person.
Exactly. That's where that comes from. That right there. And the dungeon, the abandoned building, that abandoned building in B Streets came from when we used to battle at the dungeon. It was a building on Belmont Avenue called the Dungeon that had the light from the light posts hooked up. Inside it was painted. Yo, these guys, and I got to give props to Kid and Joey from TDK, because they actually made this place look like a real club. For crying out loud, they had sex rooms in this piece. You know what I'm saying? Where you could chill with girls, you know? In the room was a bunch of pillows. It was crazy, you know? But it was big, and what they did was they did a lot of hooky jams.
Yeah.
So
let's rewind a little bit.
Okay.
What was your involvement in the creation of Rocksteady Crew?
The creation, the whole thing.
Can you describe how the crew was created, and can you give us a timeline of when?
We got the times mixed up, and I'm gonna tell you, I'm being honest, because we were all kids, you know, and a lot of things were going fast for us. I always remember the blackout, and the blackout happened in 1977, you know, so I remember breaking with Rocks. I remember that, you know, but now they're saying 79, and then you have to think about battles that happened in the past, like the Star Child Rock battle against TBB and TDK was way before Rocksteady happened, or even conceived, and that happened before that, and they said that happened after 77.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So if it happened after 77, that means Rocksteady wasn't born in 77. Now, I brought this to Leg's attention. Legs, being the self-centered person that he is, didn't give a damn. He's going to still run with the date and leave it like that. Because when I first posted it, I think Fable or somebody posted it and said, wow, Rocksteady just got 2 years younger. You know? And
But it went, okay, so I understand these timelines, but is this discrepancy, is it a true discrepancy if 1 or 2 years are inaccurate? Like, what changes to you? Does it mean that certain people weren't on doing certain things at the time that they said they were doing?
you see, Rocksteady's lifespan was a year and a half. We wasn't around for a long time, you know?
When you say Rocksteady,
Lifespan, like the original Rocksteady, not Crazy Legs and them.
who were those people? Can you tell me who they were?
It was Jimmy D, me, Jimmy D, my brother, CN, Popeye. I can't remember the rest, but I mean those were some of the guys. Kev-Ski, you know, and you know we just, you know, the crew And Jimmy Lee was part of that. Rubber Band was another one. Rubber Band, aka Brownie. He was the guy that did rubbery stuff. He was good, with his body, But I mean, those were the members. And then, it's sort of like our lifespans as a crew didn't last too much because, like in the beginning, Jimmy Lee got in trouble. He went to jail, and Jimmy D got in trouble. He left to California and went to the service and threw Rocksteady away. Didn't want Rocksteady. Said, forget that, I'm out of here. Left New York City because he was in real trouble. I'm not going to get into his business, but he had to leave. So he left. He went to California, went to his sister's house, and enlisted in the Navy. And he's a retired officer now. He spent 25 years in there. The 25 years, he was watching from the outskirts of Rocksteady Crew, I think. That's what he said. But these days, I can't trust what this guy says now because he says he fibs a lot now, and I don't know what to believe, for him, because he just recently did an interview and it was nothing but lies. His timeline was wrong. His stories were wrong. He put me in a battle that I never was in. He said and then he said we battled Spy and Shorty Rock, which meant Spy and Shorty Rock were the leaders of the Crazy Commanders, the CC Crew. They never battled. I was a CC Crew. I was an official CC Crew member because I did battle them, me and my brother, to get in there with them. And this was way before Rocksteady. So, the timeline right there is messed up again,
So from those original members, people got into problems that they had to leave the state or the city, go somewhere else, start a new life, do other things. The crew starts shrinking.
No, what happened is they left everything in Crazy Legs' hand, I was still around. See, we gave Crazy Legs a chapter to take to Manhattan. So that means that there was a Bronx chapter, the main chapter, the leaders, and then you had the second generation, which was all of them. Ken Square, Frosty, all of them. So that the term Money Making Manhattan, that's where the money was. They got the sponsorships. They got the opportunities. Instead of being humble enough to say, hey, we're coming into a lot of things. Come on, we want at least you two to be with us. We were the last two around. Everybody was gone. Okay. Everybody's dead, gone, J.O. We're the only two Rocksteady members around.
So to play devil's advocate, do you think it was a thing of we're younger, we're more focused on the dance, these guys are kind of running around, going crazy. I'm not a part of that street life. I want to focus on the dance. I got these guys that dance too. We're focused on dance. We got good moves.
These were all Crazy Legs friends, first of all, these guys. None of those guys I met them when I first came down to meet them, all of them. We came down to chaperone them, me and Jimmy D, and then Jimmy got in trouble and left. Legs took the opportunity because now he talks, when you hear him talk, he says that Jimmy Lee gave him the crew and to take it from here, which is a lie. He didn't give him a crew, he gave him a chapter. He took the chapter and got to where he was with that chapter, let alone forget everybody else who gave him a gem to get that chapter, So he did that, and he took that and ran with it, And then years later, after I finally see Jimmy D after 35, 40 years, he comes back in, which Legs already been in cahoots with him, keeping him on the low, Me, I didn't know what the hell was going on. Crazy Legs, Jimmy D was the type of dude that you couldn't even trust him with your girl. He rapped to my girl one time, came to a house, he knocked on the door and was like, hey, what's up? And she's like, where's Joe? And he's like, I came to see you, not Joe. And she's like, well, bye. And she hung up on him, and then told me. And I never trusted him since then. But that's the type of person he was. And then when I finally recently spoke to him, when all this allegation stuff was going down with Legs, I spoke to him on the phone. I was like, yo, let's take back our shit, because things is not looking right. We need to, focus on, getting this team back together. I can tell in his tone that he wasn't excited about it. Now I know that there's a cahoots between them two, because he did an interview. He didn't say one thing about Legs. He didn't say one thing about his allegations. Nope. He didn't say anything to condemn what he did. Money. To me, it means you support everything he did. You got his back because he was your friend. He gave you money, because Legs made a lot of money. He made a lot of